As we actually get to be joined by Pedro Gomez here on the broadcast, but a 3-0 advantage for Frederick. Hannafy comes home. Osinski with a fly ball out towards left field, charging in, and a swoop around on the play. Trevor Craypore has it. One retired for Salem. So you got to sit down right in front of the action yesterday. Now we saw you watching Nick Lavello's ABs.
I send those to Tori because I tape them and I send them to Tori, and because he doesn't get to see Nick that much.
Yeah.
And Tori and I go way back to when he was a player. So I always do that. And he's always very appreciative because he doesn't get to see Nicky that much, and you know, he'll get to watch him. So I sent him today's, by the way.
Oh.
Because I was up in the shade today. I wasn't down low. My ticket's down there, Melanie, but not
we noticed that, you weren't taking the sunshine route this time.
But I did tape it, and you know, he got hit back in the it looked like the shoulder blade and came out of the game. So I sent that to Tori, and Tori responded, "Thanks, Pedro. I'm trying to get in touch with him right now." But you know, the Diamondbacks game started at 2:15 local time here, 1:15 in St. Louis. So I don't know if he was able to or not.
That's a lot to juggle, and I mean, you certainly know what that's like.
It's easier for me. I'm not in a dugout for 4 hours a night like Tori is, unable to use his telephone whatsoever. I am, at least, in a press box or whatever.
Well, that's true. It's Charlie Madden at the plate. He's got a 1-2 count with Hannafy. Again, one away here in the top of the fifth. So for you now, I noticed we were watching. You were talking into your phone while Rio was pitching. Were you FaceTiming that performance?
I FaceTimed it to my wife.
Okay, that was the guess. We figured Mom got to see it happen live.
Absolutely. She's back home in Phoenix, and she couldn't make it. I had bureau meetings in Bristol, Connecticut after the All-Star game, so I was already on the East Coast. So I thought, I'm here. Why not extend it just a few days? And so I did FaceTime Sandy, and she was able to watch Rio pitch as well.
Charlie Madden chases in the offering from Hannafy. He's set down. It's a second strikeout for the righty. He continues to stretch here. So, I mean, just kind of, we've been talking about this, but unfortunate. We're halfway through the game right now, but to see Lavello get hit, then Ward to take that comebacker off of his hand, removed from the game, and right away a home run. For you, you've seen your share of ball games. I mean, where's the answer for a club that has to deal with that?
It has to come from within, from resolve, and that I've seen before, but I've also seen other clubs that say, well, that's the end of the inning.
And he calls it right there. It's a first pitch, a fly out for Tanner Nishioka to center field as the inning draws to a close. No runs, hits, errors, or men left on base for the Red Sox. We move to the home half of the fifth, and again, it's a 3-0 Frederick advantage. You're listening to the Salem Red Sox Baseball Network. We'll be back with more after this. Is back out for another inning of relief. He sends a first pitch strike to John Carrillo. 0-1. The backstop drew a walk and scored in the third on that shot out to the 400 mark. So again, we were talking about this between the break, and now we can actually dig into a little bit. But Frederick Keys, with their name for Francis Scott Key, and you were the first out of our group to discover why that was.
I found it out last night. We went out with one of the Keys pitchers, Cameron Ming, who pitched 3 years together with my son at the University of Arizona. And he told me that, and I was like, come on, there's no way that's true. He goes, no, it's really true. That's why we're called the Frederick Keys. And he's buried right there in that cemetery across the street, which is really bizarre and fascinating. It's a really fascinating little fact.
So you've been called the vault of information, and I feel
useless. She forgot. That's a good friend of ours, Debbie Cadiala. She left out useless information.
I feel like I understand that. We grew up in a family where our dad has always had that precedence, and then I've started to pick up on, you know, just finding that I'm throwing out random things. Susie's even mentioned it a couple times, like, how did you know that about? I'm like, I don't know, it's just there. What's the one, probably the funniest little tidbit that you've come across and been able to use in your career? Loop up the middle, and it'll be a base hit for John Carrillo as it beats out both Nishioka, who tries to climb the ladder, and another leadoff man reaches. They've done that in all but 2 innings so far.
Oh boy, you're putting me on the spot. I'm sure I have 1,000 of them, but I mean, it's one of those things where when something comes up, it's like, oh, did you know this and this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, but it has to like trigger.
It has to be
organic. It has to be triggered, exactly. So I really don't have one off the top of my head. I mean, the Frederick Key's being named after Francis Scott Key. That's right now in the moment. So, like that's fascinating to me. But I'm sure I have 1,000 of them, and oh, Melanie, I'm sorry, I'm on the spot, and I'm failing miserably.
I would not count that as a fail. I mean, that's the impressive list of the library of facts that you just can't happen to sort it out down to just one. Yon Martinez brings the 1-0 to Robbie Thorburn. He flies the ball deep out towards center field, and dancing backwards, Dylan Hardy has it with a side twist. One down for the Keys. It'll hold Carrillo up at first base. So for you, now that you've gone through your meetings, you get a little bit of a break right now. What does the rest of the season entail for you, balancing your job and watching Rio?
Watching, I get to watch on MILB.TV, so I get to listen to you and Susie all the time. And you know what I found myself doing is, even if the game is a road game, I might turn down that volume and put you guys on.
Oh, well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll put you on one of my other devices so that I can hear you guys.
I've always wondered if people actually would do that.
I do, because you guys are so in tune with the Red Sox, with Salem, that I'm, the visiting broadcaster is not going to be nearly up to date on everything. So for that reason, like Dominic Labruto, like Cameron Ming yesterday goes, who's the guy that got traded away or something, because he saw Labruto get here and shaking hands and hugging.
Yep.
So he thought he was leaving, and we had to tell him, no, he just arrived because he's been hurt, and he got here obviously mid-game. But that's something that there's no way a visiting broadcaster would know. You guys would. So that's why I like to listen to both you and Susie.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because we actually looked down at one point and I said, there's a guy in a hoodie giving who's leaving? Who are we about to lose? And Marcus Wilson didn't know at the time.
Yep.
He was the guy getting to go back up, and we know he's just so excited about that. And to see Dominic come back off the IL and work back in, it'll be a good chance to have him. 2-1 pitch and a roller up the third base side. Osinski, though, stumbling. He barely stays aloft. He won't come up with the play. Zach Jarrett will reach on a single. It places Carrillo over at second with one away here again in the bottom of the fifth, and a 3-0 lead for the Keys. So for Rio, I mean, that's another addition of a left reliever.
Yeah.
It kind of re-expands that. They were running on 6 guys at one point. And to watch him, we've kind of mentioned this, now he's coming into his first real battle situations as a professional, but for Wimberley, he's really loved using Rio, those 2-3+ innings of stretch work. I mean, how have you seen him grow, both as a parent watching him, but as someone who can analyze talent?
It's been incredible. I mean, I don't even know if you know, but he got cut as a high school senior.
Oh, wow.
He got cut from his high school baseball team as a senior, and basically said, I'm not letting that coach dictate my future in the game. And so he has always been resilient. He's always kind of been in the back of the room, so to speak, when it comes to the depth chart, but he keeps going. He just keeps going, and he's grown so much as a pitcher. I'm more amazed at anything when I speak to him, like his intellect for pitching is through the roof. And I basically said, how do you know all this? How did you learn it? Just from being here. He's more intellectual than any of our other children, or me, or
there we go.
Well, or me or my wife. Actually, he's always been a thinker, and sometimes that always hasn't helped him out. Sometimes he thinks too much.
A deep fly here from Escara out towards that right field corner. It'll tick off foul. 1-2 count for the first baseman. It kind of goes back to that whole, don't think too much.
I know.
Exactly.
You'll hurt the ball club. Crash Davis.
Exactly. Well, so he actually got to mention this. We sat down on Father's Day and really dove into that relationship. But he said, because I grew up how I did and being around clubs and watching Dad do what he did, it's kind of put me in a situation now because being around big leaguers was normalcy for me. He said I'm not fazed by it anymore. And not just when he gets into a tough situation, but, if he has a big rehab or if he's around the big league guys at spring training. So for you raising him like that, I mean, was this kind of something that you would have seen happening for him?
I mean, you always, in the back of your mind, you always hope that maybe it can play out and play high school ball, possibly play college ball, possibly play pro ball. And
the liner goes foul up the first base side. Escara holds a 2-2 count. Again, runners on at first and second.
Yeah, to see it all play out has been really nothing short of amazing. And, I was fortunate enough that when he was 10, 11, 12 years old, I could ask one of the clubhouse guys I knew from Oakland, San Francisco, the Angels, the D-backs, hey, if you need an extra bat boy for a spring training game, and they were like, yeah, Pedro, absolutely. So he's been in major league dugouts with stars from the time he was about 10 years old. It might only be sporadically, once or twice a spring, but still you are exposed to it. So if you do come across a Dustin Pedroia, like the first 4 games of the season on rehab at Greenville, it's not like, oh my God, that's Dustin Pedroia.
I can definitely say that was my first major league interview, and that was kind of in my brain at the moment. It was, oh my gosh, it's Pedroia. A pitch cuts inside. Escara draws a walk, and it'll load the bases full of Keys with just 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th. John Carrillo stands at 3rd. Zach Jarrett moves over to 2nd, and again, Escara over on that first base side. Omar Reyes digs in from the right against Martinez. Reyes this afternoon has struck out and flown out, again trying to limit that 3-0 lead that the Keys have at the moment. Now, did you stay through the 9th inning and the rally and everything last night?
Absolutely. I just moved, it was the 9th and there was 1 out, nobody on. I moved over to where the players go up to the clubhouse, just so I could tell Rio where I was going to be after the game. So I was actually over here by the rails over there, and it was just amazing to see 6-2, 2 outs, bases loaded, and they scored 4 with 2 outs in the 9th. That's a lot of resilience. They've been playing so great the second half of the season. It's
been a night and day difference. First pitch cuts inside to Reyes. It'll be a 1-1 count, a little limbo bend backwards.
I think to me the most amazing thing is they can now win games 7-6 or 1-0. It doesn't matter. They can win any game they play in.
What do you think makes the difference for that? What have you been hearing from Rio that makes the difference for that?
You know what? We haven't discussed that in particular. I think it's more than anything. It's probably a sense of pride also. Like, we're not as bad as our record indicated that first half. Let's show everybody. And there's some good players here.
Martinez with the 1-1, a bouncer over towards third base. Osinski connects to Nishioka, but the toss over to Castellanos is not in time. 1 run comes home for the Keys as Carrillo jogs in. They'll extend their lead 4-0 with runners on the corners and 2 away. And for a lot of what we've been noticing, it really seems to be the intangible, and some people talk about it, but really the chemistry for these guys that's come into play, that it quite simply was not there when this team first kicked off.
That can happen. That can absolutely happen. I mean, Marcus Wilson was here after the trade with the D-backs and really played really well.
Yeah, we're going to miss that.
Well enough to be now in Portland. And good for him.
2 away, Martinez with a pitch low and away to Ryan Ripken. Righty-lefty matchup. Ripken has singled and struck out this afternoon. So what's the rest of the family got going on right now?
We have a junior at Arizona State. We have a...
Oh, you're going split house.
I know. It kills Rio, too.
Fly out towards center field off of Ryan Ripken, and the inning will draw to a close, but 1 more run comes home after that force out from Jomar Reyes. They leave 2 men on the base paths. Frederick continues to climb ahead 4-0. We'll turn it over to the 6th inning next. You're listening to the Red Sox Baseball Network. Welcome back out to the Salem Baseball Network. Melanie Newman, Pedro Gomez, and Susie Kuhl here with you. We got a full booth today as we kick off the 6th inning at Nimio Field, Harry Grove Stadium. Frederick extended their lead in the bottom of the 5th. They now have a 4-0 advantage over the Red Sox. And we'll flip it back up to the leadoff man, Jagger Rasconi. The switch hitter continues to bat from the left against the righty, Brennan Hannafy.
I love Corey Wimberly. Every single inning does this.
I keep meaning to ask why. Is that all it is?
Oh, it's got to be a superstition. It has to be. He goes over before he takes over the third base coaching box and cleans off third base.
First pitch Rasconi sees is a soft bounce over to second baseman Pat Dorian. The scoop and toss across. One retired quickly for Salem. It's one of those things you notice it in games. You go, I need to know. And then the game ends and you roll into the next day and you've forgotten all about it and then he does it again.
Exactly. Every inning.
We thought at first, for the first couple of series, that maybe he knew. He's played with a couple guys in the Carolina League during his time in the Mexico League. So then he was shaking hands with the third baseman. And I'm like, okay, does he know all these guys? And then started to realize he's just, he's being courteous since they're kind of sharing the same territory. But he's been an interesting skip to have this year. He's made it fun. Hannafy kicks home to Pedro Castellanos. The first baseman has a swing and a miss, strike one.
Great pronunciation on Pedro, by the way. I took it from the moment I heard you. It was like, wow, that is amazing.
That's just always kind of been the way. I never really thought about it. It just happens. 0-1 and a bouncer foul towards the Sox third base dugout, strike two. And someone even said that. They said, oh, you say that because he's Latin. I said, oh, I mean, that helps. That's probably the way that he would prefer to have it said. But I took Spanish classes from the time I was in the 5th grade, and I'm working back into it now, back to being fluent.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Gracias. 0-2, and Castellanos a bounce. This one up to the third base side. Jomar Reyes with a big punter's kick as he spins it across the diamond. But it's in time, and 2 ground outs for the Sox in the top of the 6th.
Shortstop number 19, Ryan Fitzgerald.
Now, for you, have you had any standout moments in your time in the booth, a game? Let's go with Boston in particular. Was there ever a chance for you, like those,
I covered.
You won't forget?
Yeah, I covered all 4 of their World Series victories.
It's casual.
Over the last 11, 12 years, whatever it is, since the 04 one. 15 years, I guess it is. Dodger Stadium last year. Yeah, it's never gets old for me.
Well, it's getting a little old here for Salem as Fitzgerald flies out on the first pitch to center field. It's another straight 3 up and down for the Sox. No runs, hits, or men left on base. Moving on to the bottom of the 6th inning, the Keys maintain that 4-0 lead, and a new man out on the mound. When we come back, we'll let you know who that is on the Red Sox Radio Network. Keep here. A new man on the mound for the Red Sox as we open up the bottom of the 6th inning. Yohan Martinez has done 3 innings, 2 runs on 3 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Frederick has a 4-0 lead over Salem, and Zach Skellinger takes over on the mound, the righty, with a 9 flat earned run average. Now, his last time out, 2 1/3 innings of hitless ball. Righty as he comes home to Trevor Craypore, and a ball that takes a bounce. 1-0, and again, still in here with Susie Courton, joined by Pedro Gomez. Now, we'll backtrack here a little bit. I mean, I would love to dig into the whole Red Sox World Series teams, but you've also got more family that's at Arizona State. I mean, where does the divide come? As Crayport loops the ball right into Ryan Fitzgerald's glove and is retired.
Yeah, I mean, Rio obviously pitched at the University of Arizona down in Tucson, which is 100 miles from our house.
Now batting for the Keys,
he graduated, so he got his degree.
Dorian.
And all of a sudden, our son and our daughter decide, yeah, we're going to go to Arizona State. And he was beside himself. Why would you want to go there? How could you go there? That place is awful. And it's a strong rivalry in the state of Arizona.
Skellinger's first pitch is a bouncer from Pat Dorian. It'll scoot up towards Tanner Nishioka with a soft toss over to Pedro Castellanos, working quickly here, 2 away. Now, what about you guys? I mean, did you have any collegiate preference before any of your children made it?
No, I mean, Sean Miller. Look, Rio wanted to play college baseball, so he went to Mesa Community College that first year, developed biceps tendonitis, so he medically redshirted. And then all of a sudden, Andy Lopez down at the University of Arizona, the great baseball coach who's 2-time national champion, suffered an injury to a lefty pitcher 1 week before school started. And so he called up to the West Coast League, which is a summer collegiate league where Rio had pitched that summer, and asked the coaches, were there any lefty junior college kids? Because a D1 or D2 kid can't transfer. You have to sit out a year. You have to sit out a year. And so I guess Rio's name came up a few times, and Andy Lopez calls the house once and asks for Rio. He's like, "Hey, Pedro, it's Andy Lopez." I'm like, "Hey, coach," just shocked. I didn't even ask, "How'd you get our number?" But he did get it. He goes, "I'm looking for Rio," and I said, "Oh, he's not here." He goes, "Well, we want to see if he wants to come down and try to pitch for us." And I said, "Well, I can't answer for him, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer. But yeah, here's his cell number." So I hung up with Andy. I called Rio immediately, and I said, "You're going to get a call from a 520 number, which is Tucson's area code." I said, "You better answer." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Andy Lopez is going to call you." He's like, "What, are you kidding? How can that be?" And so the whole thing played out.
Wow. That's it's funny how baseball has a way of winding. A 2-2 in, swing and a miss through for Sean Miller. Strikeout number 1 for Zach Skellinger. He works cleanly here again. Thank you to Pedro Gomez for joining us today. As we conclude the 6th inning at Harry Grove Stadium, Salem still looking to break on the board. Frederick with that 4-0 shutout. We'll see if the Bats can do it. Garrett Benj leads off the effort when we come back on the Salem Baseball Network.